Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we have our family podcast, Big Sam, Nephews, and Sherry. I want to thank you all for listening. And today, I have this guy goes back a long ways with me. Lewis Wilson, how you doing? Coach Lewis Wilson.
How you doing, Sam? Happy Easter, everybody.
Easter.
Yeah, Sam,
Now,
you say long. Sam, you're older than me, man. You're making me feel old.
That was a lot of longs.
That was a lot of longs.
A lot of longs.
Well, we have gone back a lot. I was telling Tony, you guys are longer because you remember I lived in Alaska for like 10 years, and I met Lewis, I met everybody, and I ended up coaching you all in a summer league team. And everybody was laughing. They said, we got like high school guys. I said, that's all right. But we won the championship that summer.
Yeah, I remember that. Is that how many championships did you win coaching summer league?
Just I only coached that one summer, and then Coach White.
There you go. And then you retired. That's a smart move. When I finally win a championship, that's what I'm going to do. That's a good move.
It's a good job. Just one and done. You know what I'm saying?
One and done.
I'm the greatest of all time.
The greatest, the GOAT.
Well, let's not put that way out there like that. Anyway.
He's 1-0. He's 1-0. Who else is 1-0? Like he's been there.
There's a lot of coaches that are 1-0 on the A. You said it.
They can't do better than that, though. You can't do better than O.
Yeah.
Right.
Good job.
And then but then the legendary coach, I went to work for Coach White after that, and he's a legend. And I'll tell you what, I learned more about basketball from that guy than just incredible. He was an incredible individual.
Oh yeah, Chuck White, synonymous with Alaska basketball, high school coach for 45 years, won 18 state titles, over 900 games at 80% plus, produced several NBA players from the state of Alaska, starting with Trajon Langdon, and carried guys like me and Sam. So he was great. I mean, he won a state title with me as his point guard, and Sam, he won a state title with you as an assistant coach. He was a legendary coach.
There you go. Just put it all together. Just meshed it all together.
So now, what are you doing? Where are you at now, Lewis? I'm the head men's basketball coach at the University of Texas at Tyler. We're Division II school, NC2A Division II school, competing in the Lone Star Conference in Tyler, Texas, about an hour and a half east of Dallas. Lone Star Conference is one of a handful of the best men's Division II conferences in the country. We have 4 teams ranked in the top 25 this year, and our representative, West Texas, actually lost in the championship game to Northwest Missouri. Very tough conference. And I'll be feeling a lot better when one of those 4 teams I'm alluding to is us, because we weren't one of those 4 teams ranked in the top 25.
You'll get there, Coach. You'll get there.
Right. So now, the other thing I was going to ask you, now, isn't Tony's daughter going to school there too?
Yes. Azaria Reed, graduate of Osseo in, what is that, Brooklyn Park?
Yeah. No, Osseo, Minnesota.
Osseo, and they live in Brooklyn Park.
Right.
Osseo is in Osseo, and she's a graduate from Osseo High School and had a couple of stops before she got here, but she's now on our women's team. Zaria Reed, the daughter of the legendary, we throw that word around in Alaska, there's only like 10 people up there that played, so it's like everybody's a legend in their own mind. The legendary Tony Reed, who was a multi-times Alaska High School Boys Player of the Year and MVP and state champion. And so his family's in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota there, and his daughter plays basketball here.
Now, you're down in Texas. Now, where else have you been, your other stops?
Oh, man. That's like, where's Waldo, man? I coached, right out of college in Missouri at Liberty College in Missouri back in '88. I went and coached with Chuck White, who we talked about earlier, who is absolutely the most influential male figure in my life and the greatest coach in my opinion to ever walk the earth. But that's because of all the things he did for me. I went and coached for him for 4 years in Alaska. That's where I had the opportunity to coach Trajon Langdon and some of those early 90s East teams that were great. Then I got the opportunity to coach at Southern Utah University in Cedar City, Utah, which is a Division I school for Bill Evans, who brought me into college coaching. Back in the early 90s, I spent 6 years at Southern Utah, 8 years at Idaho State, 4 years as the associate head coach at Cal State University Northridge under Bobby Braswell. Then I became a head coach after 18 years as a Division I assistant. I became a head coach at Adams State, which is in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference in Alamosa, Colorado. Did that for 5 years. We had a really good run of success, including 3 times in the regional, 1 time there in Minnesota in Mankato. They hosted the regional. And we were there in that tournament in 2011, I think. And then went back D1 to Utah State University, in the Mountain West Conference. 1 year with Dan Marley at Grand Canyon as the associate head coach. And just, desire to be a head coach again and finish my career as a head coach, or at least give that a run. Was fortunate enough to take the job here at the University of Texas Tyler in 2019. We were transitioning from Division III to Division II, so we had a 2-year waiting period, which we just concluded. And so now we'll be full-fledged Division II NC2A.
Yeah, good job.
So you've gone you've had a long history of coaching, and you've done a lot of different coaching. But you were mentioning Trajon Langdon. I didn't have the privilege to coach him because you were there. But Trajon is probably, just my opinion, he probably might have been one of the greatest basketball players that ever come out of Alaska. But I want to ask you a question, Lou. Who do you think's better between Trajon and your cousin Muff Butler?
Well, first off, and me and Coach White used to talk about this. Coach passed in November 2019.
Right.
And we, of course, had constant conversations for 43 years about Alaska basketball. And one of the things we did agree, Muff was older than Trajon. Trajon graduated at 17. Muff was a junior out of New York City when our family moved up there. My cousin, Muff is my first cousin. Muff was 19 as a junior because he had, doing some other things on the subways. The reason why he had the name Muff is he was a graffiti artist on those trains and would paint him up with that name. And he was doing those type things until, he moved with our family to Alaska and went to East High School. And he's a great playground legendary player. Muff is early 60s now, and still every year goes and plays in the City League there just to have some fun. And last time he did that, he dropped 40 and a half in his early 60s. So to answer your question, Muff is a playground legend. I would never say anybody's better because of just who he was, just a legendary open court type player. Trajon is, to me, the most developed high school player Alaska ever produced. His skill set before he went into Duke, he shot the ball. In 30 years of college coaching, I've never seen anybody shoot the ball like that. The way he shot the ball, he was so incredibly proficient from three-point line and the free throw line, and he was smart and tough. He's now the general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans.
Right.
So the boss of Zion Williamson right now. And so Trajon was special. Mario Chalmers, who played for the Heat, started for them when they won their championships with LeBron, Bosh, and Wade.
Bartlett High School.
Mario, not as skilled as Trajon, certainly not a playground type guy as Muff, although his game was more that way than Trajon's was. Mario just had the quickest hands and the biggest heart of anybody I've ever seen. That's why he was able to hit the shot he hit in the 2008 NC2A final against Memphis. When he hit that shot to send the game in overtime for Kansas, they went on to win. Mario's a legend. He won at every level. And then Carlos Boozer is the best pro prospect, that we ever produced, because 6'9", right, 240 pounds as a 10th grader. That dude is a man. He's been a man since birth. And he had obviously a great college career, and then he had a really good, pro career. So And there are a lot of other good players, but again, that's a long way of answering. I would never take anybody over Muff, but Trajon Langdon, if there is a pipeline of players coming from Alaska to that degree, he's the one that started that.
It's funny you talk about the pipeline because there is a pipeline of players that come out of the state of Minnesota. The women's national player of the year, she's from here in Minnesota. And then we have Mr. Suggs hit the shot last night for Gonzaga. He's from here. And I just think that Minnesota is producing a lot of really good basketball players right now.
Yeah, Minnesota's always been underrated as a basketball state.
Right. Right.
And I've had the privilege of coaching a lot of Minnesota players in my college coaching career. And including really funny, Jalen Suggs' first cousin, DeMar Suggs, recruited him out of Merritt Junior College and signed him at Idaho State University in 99, 2000, 2001. He was our best player at Idaho State. He coached for me for a little while at Adams State University. And he wasn't anywhere near as good as his cousin. I can tell you that much. He was a good player, but Jalen Suggs is special. And I've coached Akbar Abdul-Ahad up out of there as a player, came out of there. I coached Akbar at Idaho State University.
Did you coach Chad Bay?
Chad Bay at Southern Utah University. I sure did. So I've coached some Minnesotans.
That is phenomenal. But yeah, it's this state is kind of reminds me a lot of Alaska as far as the pipeline of players because now we've got an incredible amount of players that come out of the state of Minnesota. The Jones brothers that went to Duke, they're phenomenal. But I think they got a new coach here now. And so what do you think about that?
About your new coach? You talking about University of Minnesota? They change coaches. That's like what is this, leap year? That happens about every leap year, doesn't it?
Right.
Oh,
it's like
look, they might have got it right.
Right, lost me when you got rid of my guy Tubby, man. I'm like, if Tubby Smith, one of the greatest coaches to ever blow a whistle, if he can't get it done, man, I don't know about you guys.
Nobody can. Yeah,
I'm not saying nobody. I'm just gonna say whoever somebody is, you got to be a bad boy to do better. I mean, Tubby is Tubby for a reason.
Right.
So Murray's.
Right.
They probably have some. Minnesota probably has some issues with basketball that is bigger than your coaches. You got some good coaches there.
Right.
And they just hired. They hired who they had a surprise hire. Who they wound up hiring there?
They hired Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, good man, very good man. Yeah,
and
I was happy to see that they didn't do the standard recycle. You know what I mean? So they may have a great opportunity. Ben Johnson's a good man, a very well respected coach.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, I coached him in the 7th grade, and then he was an intern for me with the Timberwolves when I worked there for about 5 years. So. This business is kind of funny because everything kind of goes around in cycles, you kind of know this guy and this guy knows this guy and this guy knows that guy. And that's just kind of how it is,
Yeah, it's very much so. It's how I know that I'm getting old. My degrees of separation are getting much smaller because I've been around so long. And it's like when I was growing up as a kid and some older person would see me and say, "Is so-and-so your mama, boy? You look just like your mama." That's how I am now, So I say, "You play for so-and-so? I know him." So I wind up knowing somebody on every staff. You want it because you've been around so long. So it's a very close-knit business that way. 355 Division I schools and, a little less than that on the Division II level. And you feel like you know somebody on every staff.
Right. And I think, how are we looking for time, nephew?
No, we're good. We're good. Hey, I got a quick question for Coach.
Go for it.
Hey, Coach, I was looking at your, because that's what I have to do. I was looking at your basketball team, right? And I see you have an eclectic amount of people that you have from different areas. But I do see one standout from Anchorage. I want to know, is it still hard to recruit out of Alaska? Is it hard to recruit the players that you want to get? Like when you start recruiting, anywhere that you ever been, do you ever find it, hey, I'm gonna go back home to Alaska, or do you just, I'm gonna get this area, and then do you have like a preference of players or any kind of range that you have?
And yeah, it's an excellent question. And recruiting, because it's a relationship business.
Correct.
We tend to gravitate to where we have the relationships that we feel we can leverage to help ourselves. And growing up in Alaska, played high school ball there. I worked in business there for the NBC affiliate and advertising sales. So know a lot of business people. Started a nonprofit sports foundation, basketball specific, that I ran for a long time. And so many relationships there that I am able to reach back. So on all of my stops, I think everywhere I've ever been, I at least recruited Alaska, and most of those places signed somebody from Alaska or multiple people from Alaska, because you can leverage your relationships. And so recruiting, yes, it can be sometimes it's tough because, Alaska, the distance, it's hard to get up there and lay eyes on people live, because in Division II particularly, you don't have the funds generally to be flying up there for one game. Right. And I don't have a private jet, obviously. I am not in that John Calipari class where some booster's just flying me up to see a kid. So that's a great recognition on your part. It is cost prohibitive, which makes, any isolated place tough for kids to be recruited. But, that's the beauty of now what we're in. We're in this age, everybody is, and at the internet age and technology, where your recruiting now is moving more to video and those type of things, particularly in the last year because of the pandemic. The NC2A level, you're not recruiting on or off campus. So, this kid that you're alluding to, Trajon Weiss, that plays for me, one of our best players, his dad played for Coach White in the mid 90s in Alaska. I knew Trajon before he was an idea in his daddy's head. So I don't know if Sam, if you remember Roscoe's Soul Food in Alaska.
Right. I remember that place.
That's Trajon's family.
Oh, okay.
The Weiss family. And so, that answering Nephew's question, you just know people. And then Sam will tell you, I come from a huge family.
Right.
And I meet nephews. I get really close to my nephews when they can play and they turn about 18. I become a really friendly uncle.
That's how my uncle was. That's how he was too. He was like, "Oh wait, you can really play?" I was like, "Man, I've been trying to tell you I can really hoop, uncle. Come on now. I can jump out the gym. I can shoot. I'm fast. Like, what do you need?"
Yeah,
right.
They're like, "Oh man, it's so nice that you let us come stay with you for the whole summer and work out every day in the gym." It's like, yeah.
That is funny. But I think, as time goes on and we do get older, and by the way, Lewis, I'm 66 years old.
66?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you turned 33 twice, Sam. You ain't that old.
You think I ain't?
You look pretty good, man.
Well, I've been juicing lately. I've been juicing for like the last 3 months, and I lost, I don't know how much weight have I lost? Probably 15, 20 pounds. So
you have, yeah.
So,
because you look like you're doing good. Coach White wouldn't have a lot of jokes to be able to crack on you because you look like you can still shoot a mean 15-foot jump shot.
That would be me.
Hey, Sam, you used to rebound the ball. You have strong hands. You rebound the ball, hit a 15-footer.
And that was it.
Your game would be broken in the analytical age because they don't allow you to take 15-footers anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
But I kind of miss Coach White so much because we actually ended up having a really fantastic friendship, and we played softball together for a few years too. So I always often think I just think I learned so much about life, so much about basketball from Coach White. Outstanding guy.
Yeah, he was a tremendous man. Coach, as I said, the significant thing, we keep talking about him. Again, a white male figure that raised a lot of fatherless Black dudes in Anchorage, Alaska.
Yes, he did.
Did it with a tremendous amount of love in his heart. He was a great leader. Kept us conscious about who we were as young men, kept us on the right path, led hundreds of us to college opportunities, and won 80% of his games over 45 years, 18 state titles. When you walk off the plane at Anchorage, Ted Stevens, Anchorage International Airport, and you walk through the long hallway to baggage claim, there's his picture as he's in the Alaska Hall of Fame as the first sports coach inducted there, and he's in the National Hall of Fame as one of only 3 high school coaches, not inducted, but to be, and in any way, exhibited in that National Basketball Hall of Fame. And he was just a Hall of Fame person. I know for me personally, not only did he bring organized basketball to my life, which completely changed my life and substantively has made me the man that I am, but taught me the importance of giving back. So almost anything that I do in my coaching philosophy is based on that. But then he gave me my first start as a coach, as a high school coach. I spent 4 years with him. And when he won his last state title, his 18th state title at 68 years old at West Anchorage High School
in
2010. Yeah, he had switched high schools. He won 14 state titles with East, left, retired, came out of retirement. The only job was open was West Anchorage. They had one since the Reagan administration. And he won 4 state titles in 7 years there, including beating Mario Chalmers twice in his junior and senior year. So that here's Coach White. Coach White stopped Carlos Boozer, who had a long NBA career, from winning his senior year at Juneau Douglas High School. And then he stopped Mario Chalmers, who had NBA championship career, from winning the state title as a junior at Bartlett and a senior. And Coach White he quit his job after winning the state championship at West Anchorage when I became a college coach at Adams State in Alamosa. He quit his job the day I got hired and came to be my assistant to help me be a college coach. That's how profound his impact is in my life. And we began a friendship when I was 10 years old, and he passed away in 2019, 43 years. He was the closest male figure in my life for 43 years and absolutely changed the trajectory of my life and therefore the trajectory of the lives of many, many men like me. Not only because he did that with many hundreds of guys, but then whatever impact I have on somebody is a offshoot of the impact that he had on my life. So I can go on about him all day.
Right. And he's one of my best friends in life ever, forever.
He loved you, man. He talked about you constantly. I'll say your name. He had a nickname for everybody, and he had one for you. He called you. Yeah, man. He talked about you all the time. He loved you.
He did, and I loved him too. Well, how are we looking for time, nephew?
Got 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Keep going, Lou. It's your show.
It's my show. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with the infamous Sam Williams, All-American softball player, supreme in the 80s. Do your nephews, does everybody in this line understand the legend that they are spending time with here, Sam?
So TV timeout.
Yes. They don't.
Okay, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Wilson, I think you need to expound on that because he doesn't talk about that. He says he was just all right.
No, he was. We're talking about Coach White, and I'm saying this very sincerely. Coach White was that guy for me. But you know what? It takes a village to raise a young. It takes a village to raise a young kid. And while Coach White was that important to me during that time, growing up in the '80s, Sam was there in Alaska, and at that time he was this dude playing softball, playing basketball at the rec league. But he was what we called an OG, right? He was that dude dropping knowledge. Like, sometimes as a young dude, you'd be irritated with him. But boy, he'd take you on the court, teach you how to play. It was like, man, I don't want to do that. But Sam's going to teach you how to pivot, your footwork, fundamentals, put you in the car, take you to get you a soda, but the whole time talking to you about life. Again, a very impactful guy. One of those people that young dudes like myself that grow up fatherless in our community, you really need a guy like Sam Williams. And then Sam coached with Coach White, big time dude. legend. You are without question a legendary dude.
You're a legend.
Well, thank you, Lewis. I
Legend.
don't like to talk about it though.
You're a legend, Uncle. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Hey, I'm the nephew. I'm the nephew that I know that you're a legend. There you
know the deal, huh?
I know he's a legend.
I do. I give him his props. He's a great softball player.
Yeah, but hey, if he hit from 15 and in, he was money. If he went to 16 feet, his nose would start bleeding. Hey, it'd be like climbing Mount Everest. He would get lightheaded.
He used to challenge all the kids to 10-foot jump shots, and I was like, man, that's cheating. Like, why would you do that?
No. Hey, he couldn't play. Nowadays when they pull it up from half court, his game doesn't translate to the modern game. But
well,
he was built like a dude named Wes Unseld who played for the Bullets back in the 70s. Sam was just a big old strong guy, and like I said, he great rebounder too. Really good defensive rebounder because he was a position guy. He had no hops though. He couldn't jump to a conclusion. But he put that big body on you. Rebound. Hey, and if those mitts got a hold of the ball, he was going to get the ball.
Yeah. His hand.
And Sam, do you remember I used to play with you at the pickup, and you'd always say, "Lou, just bring him toward me." And Sam always wanted to screen somebody.
Right. That's for the pick, man. I am the king of the picks.
Oh, he was the best. You are all-American screener. If they kept screening stats, you'd still be playing in the NBA.
Right, if they had a stat on that.
All-pro screener.
Oh, man. That's funny. Yeah, I really, I did play college basketball, but I really wasn't a real good basketball player because I went to college and played two sports. I played football and basketball. And then I got academically ineligible. And so my dad said, look, you got to figure out which one of these sports you want to play. And I said, okay, I'll play basketball. Now, I was decent. I was never, but my game was baseball. Always has been baseball. And it will always be baseball too. But when I got to Alaska, I met Coach White and I was playing for another team. You remember the Ships family? David Ships?
Yeah.
Right. Well, he was my cousin. And so I played with them. And then Coach White asked me, hey, you want to play with our team? So I said, oh, okay, I'll come and play with you. So anyway, long story short, I just, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun up in Alaska. A lot of fun.
It was a good time, wasn't it, Sam?
It was. I do not regret. I talk about that time in my life a lot because people, you live in Alaska? I said, yes, I did for 10 years, And really was, when I got up there, I told my friend, I said, you know what? Because I got my high school friend had lived up there, and he was the best man in my first marriage. So I said, I'm gonna come up here, and if I don't like it, I'm gonna leave. And I ended up staying for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, we're all better for it.
You think we ain't?
No doubt.
Well, I had a question though for Mr. Lewis. Can you kind of speak upon the kind of the evolution of the game from when you started playing to like what you're seeing as you're coaching now?
Yeah, man, that's crazy. You asked that question. Trajon Langdon, who we've talked about, I was on the phone with his parents for a long time this morning, Steve and Gladys Langdon, and we were talking about it's the evolution of society on one hand, just from the disciplinary aspect of it, the things that you can and can't do, how you deal with people, the advent of social media, how that has changed relationships. They have a thing called the portal now where kids just enter the portal and they can transfer. So there's almost a free agency, coaches hopping jobs, administrations firing you within a couple of years. The most dynamic change is in the relationships you can and cannot have as a coach. But then just in play, the game, I watched Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird because I'm a geek. I watched it not too long ago on YouTube, the game in 1979, Bird versus Magic, right? Still the highest rated college basketball game ever. Watch that game sometimes. There were 10 dudes that operated within 15 feet of the basket the whole time because there was no three-point shot.
Yep.
And the best way I can explain it to you as a coach is in that time period, spacing, which is the single most important thing to offenses running well, okay, especially in the modern game, spacing was dictated by position on the floor. Every coach said 12 to 15 feet. That was what you told people how far they needed to operate away from the next guy on his team. Right. Spacing now is purely skill driven, meaning guys 6 feet, 11, 7 feet, they space you, they force your defense to space because they can shoot from 25 feet, which opens up the floor, which creates the ability of guys to drive downhill, which is the second player that can create space beyond the shooter, is a guy who at the point of attack, you can't guard him. That means you got to bring help, which opens kickouts. And then the third thing, which we are losing in the game, is the low post offensive guy who you throw him the ball, he commands a double team. That guy doesn't exist really anymore, the Shaquille O'Neals. Right. But you create space because if you got to double team him on the kick out, that means somebody's open, because that's the beauty of basketball. There's only 5 of them and 5 of us. So now they're in a rotation. So the shooter creates space. The guy who can beat you at the point of attack creates space, and the guy who commands a double creates space. In the 2021 game at the college and pro level, you got to be able to shoot. Or you know what you don't say anymore? He's really good, but he can't shoot.
Right.
If you can't shoot, you're not good anymore.
Yeah,
you can't play. And that's what's changed the game. The same things that's changed society in terms of discipline and relationships, that's changed the game, but the actual play has been changed by the floor is still 94 by 50 feet. It hasn't changed, and still 10-foot rim. It's just that now you got to guard all 94 by 50 feet. I mean, you got dudes in the NBA crossing the half-court line and shooting and hitting shots.
Right. You got big men shooting threes.
So. Oh, yeah. How about the Joker? I mean, the Joker is using ball screens.
Right. Hey, we got 1 minute, Uncle.
All right. Thanks a lot, Lewis. Okay, really quick, Lewis. Who's your pick for tomorrow's game? Baylor or
I have a former player who's an assistant, Alvin Brooks at Baylor, and a former colleague at Gonzaga. I love both programs. My eyes tell me after watching those two teams yesterday that Baylor's going to win.
All right. Good deal. We're going to have you back down the road, Lewis. Thank you very much, Lewis Wilson. Also, I want to thank my family. I want to thank Javier, Husamadine, Sherry's here. I want to thank you all. This is Big Sam.
Love you, Sammy.
Appreciate it, Louis.